Welcome to More For Me with yours truly, Kat Necole. What up, homie? What's going on? What's good with you this week? Praying that all is well. Want to take a moment to welcome you to the studio, here where I love to hang out with my homies on this good homieship. If this is your first time stopping by the show, welcome. And if this is not your first time, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Either way, it is an honor and a privilege to have you join me here. Let's get into it like we do on this good journey towards the destination of more that God has for me, but He also has one for you as well. Last week, we talked about doing the hard things. And this week, we're going to talk about having the grace to evolve. Grace yourself, not brace yourself, but you need to grace yourself. Now, before I dig into what it means to extend ourselves grace as we evolve as people, and you as an individual, I want to be clear that yes, we are still all about doing the hard things. Let's get it. Hard things must be done. You are going to run into a plethora of difficult or hard encounters as you journey towards the destination of more that God has for you. It just is what it is. But it doesn't negate the fact that we still need to give ourselves, to extend ourselves grace as we evolve and we journey towards that destination of more that God has for us. The two ideas are not contradictory, yet complementary. So we're doing the hard things, but let's make sure we extend ourselves grace. Now, let's jump into this here grace thing. So I've noticed that there are times, certain topics that I have a certain level of discomfort with a new perspective or position on topics. Why is this? Well, let's just be honest. Sometimes I have a we'll add some varies as if it makes it even more so, but very, 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 very strong stance on things. And the reason why I find myself being uncomfortable when my perspective changes is because I have been so dogmatic about the position that I was taking. It is what it is. And so less these days, but there definitely early on was heavy discomfort in terms of I've shifted. I now have to go back on what I said. And what I said was everything, it was absolute. And so there was some discomfort, I told people, you know what I'm saying? Nextel forever, only Nextel, only Nextel. Then next thing you know, not only Nextel anymore, right? So you have people that joke. It makes me think about my husband, the lovely Mr. French F. Thompson III. He was all about BlackBerry, even more so than I. And my brothers laugh to this day. You will get a hearty chuckle out of the McGee boys when they think back to, remember the first time French got an iPhone and he came over to the other side. He had the BlackBerry, what was it, the Playbook or something random. It was I don't need an iPad. And he was just in there digging in. And so it became comical when you look around now and he has only Apple products, right? He finally converted over. And so back to me though, right? I do love a little chuckle at the husband's expense every now and again. But there are things that I just took really strong stances. And sometimes it wasn't just as simple as, I don't drink tap water, right? I just don't. It's just not going to happen. I'd have to be near dehydration to have a sip of it. And then at that point in time, I'm only taking a sip because I can't do it. But to go from that to swinging sometimes in the complete opposite direction, almost as if one could say riding a pendulum from one extreme to the next. But I'm really having to accept and embrace that I just am not the same person. So it's one thing to just change. You're I made a mistake. But I'm talking about more than that surface level. Do you only use Nextel so you can have the chirp? Are you Android or Apple? That's kind of nonsense and insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So when I talk about things that you may change your position on, it may be how to date before marriage. It may be whether or not your kids can what it's literally life-changing stuff that I'm considering here. Whether or not I believe in this is what came in my head, but whether I believe in the free choice or not, like there are tons of topics in my head. I'm like, oh, I don't want anyone to think I'm going on a political hole. So I probably should have came up with these examples beforehand instead of flying off the dome. But you get what I'm saying, right? That it's something that literally I may have learned and become wiser, that there may have been a shift when I really gave my life to Christ and said, hey, I'm going to follow him, that I began to walk, talk, and look different than I did before. And so in those changes where literally my perspective is changing on certain things, certain topics, that I then have to learn to embrace and have had to learn to embrace that discomfort, because I am literally evolving and I am actually going through the process, the transformation, and on the journey that I desire to be on, because I want to become Christ-like as I head towards the journey. As I journey towards the destination of more that God has for me. That's the goal, but that doesn't negate the discomfort as I evolve. So what does it look like to give yourself grace as you evolve? Now, if you're anything like me, sometimes you may have had a very dogmatic stance on certain topics, certain things. But how do you live in the discomfort during the transition, during that phase? The first thing I think about is community. In terms of giving myself grace to evolve, how am I setting myself up for success, if you will? Not to be in an echo chamber where everyone thinks alike, talks alike. No, not to that extent. But am I engaged in a healthy community where it's okay to change, where it's okay for your perspective to shift, where it's okay for you to evolve as a person? That's going to be one of the biggest things, because that's what I'm surrounding myself with. And so as I maybe struggle or have second thoughts about this, that I'm in a community that is not chastising me for being different, for taking a different stance, or for making progress as a whole, but people that are embracing it and encouraging me to continue along my journey to evolve into the person that I want to be. So as I look to grace myself as I evolve and as I change and progress, I want to make sure that I have a healthy community to be of support to me as I take that journey. So that's one thing that we can have as we grace ourselves to evolve. But I also think about, I guess, forgiveness in a way, that none of us are perfect. You're not ever going to be perfect. Life wasn't intended for you to be perfect. And so when you realize that it literally, it's modeled for us, we receive it from God, but you also can see that if I'm not perfect, then I may have made a mistake, done something wrong, and or I just now have new information. So I've drawn a new conclusion. So not only am I ensuring that I'm involved in a healthy community, but I'm realizing that I might need to consider forgiveness in terms of things that I have done wrong, said wrong, or thought wrong in terms of my previous position as I continue to evolve. And both of these things that we are focusing on this week is going to be give you an opportunity, whether it's a small thing or a big thing, to still make progress. It's simple, it's scalable, and it's sustainable. Shout out to French, but that you are being able to say, you know what? Working with my kids, and I'm like, hey, you only can do it this way. You can only do it this way. Then I learn something new, and I can go back. Hey, forgive me. Mommy made a mistake. I learned something new, and I'm going to share it, update you. And now we have another way, a better way, more effective way, whatever that is, to go about doing this thing, right? That's a little thing. Hey, that's not the only way you can tie your shoe. But then it also can bleed into something that's huge, that's much more impactful than just the way that you tie your shoe. So surrounding yourself with a healthy community and making sure that you embrace, whether you're receiving or giving, forgiveness as you transition, and other people around you in your healthy community continue to evolve and transition. It works on the big and the small alike. And so as we continue to do the hard things and journey towards the destination of more that God has for us, be sure that you give yourself the grace to evolve. We should all continue to grow. Going back to the analogy of last week, the butterfly and its growth process of becoming a butterfly, that we all are going through a process and on this journey. And so we definitely need that grace. As always, it sounds really simple, but it's not something that's easy to do. I know that I still struggle with extending myself grace at times, but we will continue to press on. And as I tell the kids all the time, practice makes progress. We're not trying to be perfect, but we do want to continue to make progress. So I hope that this nugget blessed you this week, and that there's a way that you can, like, literally, practically, tangibly apply this to your life, and remember to extend grace to yourself and to others as we evolve and become who God has calling us to be. Because, for 2022, right? It's the year of becoming, at least for me. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until next week, we'll meet here, same mode, same time, same place. But remember, God has more for me. God has more for you. Now let's get it. Take care.